Well, Reg, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for coming here this morning. It's a huge pleasure to be here in Belfast, not least because everybody I've met on the streets so far has said to me, you look a lot younger than we thought you were going to be. I don't know how old they were expecting me to appear. And Reg is quite right to domestic political controversies, and it's something I'm very conscious of as Shadow Foreign Secretary, that we do have so many thousands of British soldiers serving at the moment in Afghanistan in extremely difficult conditions, and our thoughts indeed go to the Stoker family, as he has mentioned. I found it is remarkable how professionally they can work in the conditions out there, and how they can retain their good humour in the most difficult circumstances. When David Cameron and I were last in Iraq, we went to visit some soldiers who'd been injured in an incident the previous day, and they were lying on their beds with shrapnel wounds at the military field hospital in Basra. And as we walked in, I thought we'd better make conversation with the first one, and I said, I suppose the only thing worse than being involved in a rocket attack on Sunday morning is being visited by two leaders of the Conservative Party on Monday morning. And quick as a flash, this soldier said, "It's about on a par, sir," which I thought was a great British Army reply. But you are being visited here in Northern Ireland by the leader of the Conservative Party last week, and by me, a former leader of the Conservative Party, this week, and that is for another reason, which is our great pleasure that the Conservative Party and the Ulster Unionists are working together again, something that seems entirely natural and indeed overdue, and something that Lord Trimble and I discussed many years ago, one day bringing about again. And so I'm delighted that that is happening and that we are fielding joint candidates. And I think it will be good for those of us with unionist beliefs, those of us with conservative beliefs. I think it is good for Northern Ireland. It points the way to a mainstream, non-sectarian political future. And I think it is good for democracy, because I think people in Northern Ireland want to be able to vote and to influence not only what happens in their devolved government, but what happens at Westminster as well. They want to say over who will be the next government of the United Kingdom. And after these elections have taken place, and I'll say a word in a moment, of course, about these European elections next week, there will be, within the next 12 months, a general election. Gordon Brown does not like general elections or any kind of elections or referendums or any consultation with the voters, but whether he likes it or not, there has to be a general election. If he does not go and see the Queen within the next 12 months and ask for a general election, the Queen will be summoning him to tell him there is a general election. And so we know that that is coming up, and it will be vital to bring about change in the government at Westminster. It is vital, in my view, to get rid of the worst government of the United Kingdom in modern times. And I say that... I say that from the perspective of having studied history as well as of knowing this country, that this is the most financially disastrous, the most blindingly incompetent, the most grossly dishonest and disgustingly grubbiest government that we have had certainly in the living memory of the people of this country. And I believe many people in Northern Ireland will want to join us in demanding that change and in supporting David Cameron in bringing about that change and giving the country a better government and the government that it actually now wants and deserves. And I feel on a United Kingdom basis that we have the leader, we have the team, we have the candidates to now bring about the success of the Conservative Party in coming back to government again. And so I'm delighted this work is taking place together in Northern Ireland, and delighted too that we have such a strong candidate to support in the European elections in Jim Nicholson. You've just been hearing about him. He is a great candidate. He is very experienced in the European Parliament. He knows his way around all the ways in which to, all the avenues of bringing influence to bear in the European Parliament. And I have seen him at work there. I know he's highly valued by all of his colleagues in the Conservative delegation, and I want them to be able to work together successfully in the next European Parliament as well. Our members of the European Parliament, including him, are particularly conscious of the need to bear in mind the interests of the taxpayer, something that all politicians should be very conscious of, given some of the current controversies that are going on. Even the Chancellor of the Exchequer ought to be bearing in mind today the interests of the taxpayer. And in the European Parliament, that is a very important place where the taxpayers' interests have to be borne in mind. There is too much waste of money. There's waste of money on a large scale. Our members of the European Parliament want to bring an end to the absurd arrangement whereby the Parliament sits in Brussels and Strasbourg and spends £150 million a year moving all the papers and documents and officials between the two. They want to reduce, over the next few years, the administrative cost of the European Union itself. They want to cap the expenditure of the European Union at 1% of the combined gross national product of the European Union, whereas other parties are constantly wanting to lift that cap and for the EU to spend money on a bigger scale at a time when taxpayers and businesses can ill afford greater burdens being placed upon them. And so there are very good reasons to vote for an MEP such as this and a team such as this. But there are bigger reasons too. There are bigger European issues, such as the need for a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty, a referendum that was promised at the last general election by all three of the main United Kingdom political parties, and yet it has not been delivered. Now, I have watched the Labour government go through so many contortions on this issue. When the European Constitution, as it was called to begin with, was first presented, they said that it was a tidying up exercise. It was not important enough to have a referendum on at all. Then they said that it was so important a document that Parliament had to go through it line by line. It was too important to have a referendum to consult the people, because this was something only Parliament could go through. So it had become important, but it was the wrong kind of importance in their view to have a referendum. Then 5 years ago, Tony Blair did his dramatic U-turn, and suddenly it was the right kind of importance. And he said, let battle commence. Let the issue be decided, that a referendum would be held. 5 years on, there has been no referendum. And the Conservative Party remains true to the commitment to a referendum. The people of this country should have their say when their powers are being given away. And what is more, we intend, once, if and when we win the next general election in the next Parliament, to amend the 1972 European Communities Act, the act by which we joined the European Union, to ensure that it is put into law that any future government that tries to give away new powers and competences from the United Kingdom to the European Union will be required by law to hold a referendum of the British people, and that will be placed into our political practice for the future. And so that is one of the things that people have the opportunity to vote for on the 4th of June. They can vote to bring nearer a general election, which would be a good thing for the reasons I've mentioned earlier. They can vote to tell Gordon Brown they want a referendum. But they can also vote positively for the kind of Europe that we believe in. And I think people are aware of some of the things that we believe about the European Union. They know, I think they've always known in my case, that we will not join the euro. A Conservative government will not join the euro. They know that we will...